The Valley Center City Council meeting for July 18th, 2023 is now in session. Roll call.
Mayor Cicerillo.
Here.
Councilmember Stan.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Here.
Councilmember Bass.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson. Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Colbert.
Here.
Please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh God, we thank you for your presence with us. We come before you tonight with gratitude. We thank you for being the God of love who is with us in this very place. We thank you for all these elected and appointed city staff who are called to serve the community of Valley Center. Pour out your blessings upon each and every one of us, our city council, our mayors, and our first responders, and all those who worked to make this place a wonderful community. Lord, we're about to begin the meeting tonight. Lord, we ask you to be in the charge of our meeting, and your name be glorified through decisions we make tonight. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, I'm going to make one little minor change to the agenda. Under the presentations and proclamations, I'm going to flip the two around. So A will be Park and Recreation Professionals Day, and B will be the Purple Heart City Proclamation. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item 6, the administration agenda. City Council meeting minutes of July 11th, 2023.
Motion to approve the minutes of the July 11th, 2023 council meeting as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving along to presentations and proclamations. We have a proclamation for Park and Recreation Professionals Day. Whereas the City Council, the City Council of the City of Valley Center recognizes that the Parks and Recreation field is a diverse and comprehensive system that improves personal, social, environmental, and economic health. And whereas the City of Valley Center recognizes the importance and benefits of the park and recreation services that enrich the lives of its citizens and help make this community a desirable place to live, work, and visit. And whereas the City of Valley Center supports the skilled work of the park and recreation professionals to strengthen community cohesion and resilience, connect people with nature and each other, and provide and promote opportunities for healthful living, social equity, and environmental sustainability. And whereas the City of Valley Center, it values the essential services that park and recreation professionals and volunteers perform to provide recreational and developmental enrichment for our children, youth, adults, and older adults, and to ensure our parks and recreational spaces are clean, safe, inclusive, welcoming, and ready to use. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Lou Cicerillo, Mayor of City of Valley Center, do hereby proclaim July 21st, 2023 as the City of Valley Center's Park and Recreation Professionals Day, and encourage all citizens within the City of Valley Center to recognize and appreciate our staff, and witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of City of Valley Center to be affixed in this 18th day of July in the year 2023. So we got a typo. We need to catch on that one. All right. Thank you, Neil, and your team for all you do. Appreciate it. Okay. Proclamation for the Purple Heart City. Whereas the City of Valley Center has always supported its military veteran population, and whereas the people of Valley Center have great admiration and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served their country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas veterans have paid the high price of freedom by leaving their families and communities and placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in use. And whereas the city of Valley Center and surrounding area has a large veteran population. And whereas many citizens of our community have earned the Purple Heart Medal as a result of being wounded while engaged in combat with an enemy force, construed as a singularly material, I've lost it. Where'd I go? Meritorious, thank you, act of essential service. And whereas the city of Valley Center appreciates the sacrifices of Purple Heart recipients made in defending our freedoms and believe it is important to acknowledge them for their courage and show them the honor and support they have. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Lou Cicerello, Mayor of the City of Valley Center, do hereby proclaim the City of Valley Center as a Purple Heart City, and encourage the residents of the City of Valley Center to show their appreciation for the sacrifices of Purple Heart recipients. In witness whereof, I hereto set my hand and cause the great seal of the City of Valley Center to be affixed this 18th day of July in the year 2023. Now, I believe we have Mr. Colbert.
Excuse me, I have to step off. Well, I got my exercise in for the day, climbing up and down the stairs. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Ron Colbert, member of the American Legion Post 73 here in Valley Center. And we had a project that we worked on for a while to get the city nominated as a Purple Heart City. This evening, you probably see a lot of strange faces here in the building. And I'm going to ask that each member, when I call your name, please stand, tell us your rank and what service you were in. And we'll start off with the commander, Leroy Cameron.
Master Sergeant, United States Air Force.
Remain standing, please. Wayne Bowen,
Wayne Foreman, First Cavalry Division. Thank you.
thank you. Dale, Councilman Dale.
Dale Kerstetter, Army.
Councilman Evans,
Chris Evans, United States Air Force, Master Sergeant.
Neil Wetterberg,
Neil Redford, United States Air Force, 1956 and 1970.
Clint Bass, Councilman,
Clint Bass, Quartermaster, 3rd Class, United States Navy.
and our favorite at Valley Center, our POW. Miller.
Patrick Miller, Sergeant First Class, retired, United States Army, ex-prisoner of war, Iraq.
And he is both POW and Purple Heart. Ladies and gentlemen, as most of you know, we try to make sure that all these individuals are recognized any chance we get. The Purple Heart is a program that we will have once we get the county commissioner's approval as a proclamation city also. 2 plaques come in to the city, and when they come in, I'll turn them over to the mayor, and the mayor can, if you want to do a program or not, that'll be up to you on there. Everybody asks me all the time, myself, that what service were you in? There's only one branch of service. Sorry about that. The Air Force. 20 years.
Let's not start a war in here, please.
I wouldn't do that. All the guys I got.
I'm not saying you would win or lose, I just don't want us to get it started, that's all.
But we'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for doing this. And you gentlemen have anything you would like to say, please step.
Well, I'm a little talkative. When I joined the Air Force in 1956, right after Korea, I knew pretty much what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a aircraft, and I'm not there to plan everything. I'm 8 years old. I visited Japan. I spent 4 years there. Seen all the battles, seen the destruction here and all that went on. Then I went to Germany and spent 4 years. I've heard all of that. Went over where World War I was all fought. Seen the memorials on D-Day Beach. And it would make you cry for all the young men, particularly at that time, because your imagination goes back to understand the battles. Well, many of the people have served in the services. Purple Hearts, along with others. I am a patriot. I believe in. Most importantly, I honor all of my fellow servicemen, whatever service they were in, and I think all the recognition brought to them. One thing I will share with you. I came back from Vietnam in 66 and 67, and that wasn't a good time. Got on the shores of the United States in San Francisco. I was in uniform, I'll probably be back. Walking through the depot, I was cursed, I was spat on, put down as a baby pup. Now, I walk down the streets, wear my hat with pride, and the people that come up to me, so numerous, take my hand and say, grateful. So I support this with all my heart, with all my fellow people here. They have seen some battles. They know what it's like. Take it to heart and given them the remembrance that they deserve.
Thank you.
Mayor, would you and the two council members, or three council members, please come down?
Sure. As they're walking down, I just want to say, all of you that are here know how I feel about the veterans. And I've said it many times, and I'll say it right now. From the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so very, very much. You really are appreciated, especially a lot of the Vietnam guys that really, as your story just told, I was a young man growing up at that time as a teenager, and I could not believe what was going on because it didn't make sense to me either. So thank you guys again.
Are there any other veterans?
I know how much you all like pictures.
Yeah, right.
Front center. I want you front center. Okay, on the opposite side. All right, I got this. We can overlap a little bit. I don't know if we get it. Turn, there you go. Perfect. Gotta go behind the podium. Doesn't happen. All right, ready? In 3, 2. Perfect. Thank you.
All righty. We're at that point in the meeting, the public forum. At this time, is there anybody here that would like to speak to an item that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, let's move on to appointments. Excuse me, I do have 4. We're going to start with the TAC appointment and I will read them. Let's put it this way. I'm going to read through these all, and unless there is some, there's already rebuttal. Okay, Councilmember.
I had a question.
Okay.
Can you tell me what the TAC and TBP means?
Yes, Mr. Clark sure can. I can't remember, but I know what they are.
Yes, and sorry, I'm a little talk. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nice to see you all. And so item A and B under appointments is for the WAMPO, the Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is the Technical Advisory Committee.
That's it.
And then the Transportation Policy Body or Board. I can't remember which one it is for these two. What this is doing is currently I serve as the TPB alternate underneath Councilmember Colbert. In order for us to have a vote on TAC, which is the Transportation or Technical Advisory Committee, I have to not serve and I'm not eligible to serve as the alternate on TPB. And so this is for Valley Center then to have a vote on TAC, as well as continue to serve on TPB with 2 designated representatives, with Mr. Rodney Eggleston being the alternate and still Mr. or Councilmember Colbert being the primary for TPB. I do serve on the Transportation Freight Committee for WAMPO, which then gives me an opportunity to serve on TAC as that designee. So a lot of acronyms, a lot of fun federal regulations, but we want to make sure that Valley Center is represented in every board possible when it comes to WAMPO.
So for the TAC appointment, I would like to designate Brent Clark. For the TPP appointment, we're going to designate Rodney Eggleston as the alternate. On the Economic Development Board, we had an opening, and I would like to appoint Ivan Gomez. And item D will take a little bit of talking, so we're going to get that discussed. We have 2 council members, Councilmember Colbert and Gregory, will be attending the meeting. And I would like to nominate them as voting delegates. Do we know who else that I can do as alternates? You will be there?
I probably will, but I don't know if any other.
Ben said he wanted to go as an alternate also.
Okay, so then I would like to appoint Councilmembers Colbert and Gregory as our voting delegates. Councilmember Anderson and Mr. Clark as the alternates.
So moved.
Second.
Make sure Christie's got it all down.
I'm glad I didn't have to repeat any of that.
That's why I wanted to do it all at once and let somebody just follow that up. You did well. You followed through with it. All right, we have a motion and a second for all 6 of the appointments, for 8 of all the appointments. Sorry, this cold's really messing with me. My head cold. All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we have no old business. Moving along to new business. Item A, Chamber of Commerce Fall Festival request. Are we going to have, I know she's here. There she is. Just state your name and who you are for the record.
My name is Allison Clubb, and I am the Chamber of Commerce director. Started in March, for those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet. And I have before you guys the closure of the streets for the Fall Fest, which will be September 22nd and 23rd.
And just for the record, we're not changing anything that we've done in the past, right? It's all with the normal stuff that we've always done in the past. Yep. So
The only thing that I noticed that was different last year, and I had a email back and forth with Chief Newman. Eric had requested a block portion of Abilene up by Lions Park. I think it was the 200 or the 300 for the Kids Fest, for that to be closed. And going back and forth with Chief Newman, what we settled on was just closing the entrance so the police and the fire trucks can get in and out.
Speak to that, Mayor and Council. So in the past, we used to use that street and we had activities out in that street. We hadn't done that in quite some time. It's difficult sometimes finding parking. And since we don't utilize that street for any activities, thought it might be better. Now we have residents in there as well. Thought it might be better to leave that street open and let cars park.
Okay. Any questions from council? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve request for road closure and donation in the budget amount of $4,000 to the Valley Center Chamber of Commerce for the 2023 Fall Festival.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item B, Valley Center Recreation and Aquatic Complex Guaranteed Maximum Price for bid package number 2.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Mr. Barry Smith and myself will kind of kick off this portion, this item on the agenda. And then once we kind of go through the PowerPoint and answer any questions that you might have, then we'll go ahead and ask, McCown, Gordon, and Schaefer, as well as Water's Edge, to come up and kind of introduce the actual GMP item for the actual vote from you all. And so wanted to provide, Barry did a fantastic job with coming up with this PowerPoint for us all to kind of go by when it comes to the local option sales tax project, give you all an update of where we're currently at when it comes to the Lions Park pool portion, as well as the numbers as you see with the guaranteed maximum price and how that all comes together. So the pool rehab, as you see here in Lions Park, the project budget totaled a little over $1 million, 1.1 to be exact. And then it's come in just over $1 million. So just underneath about 100,000 less is what is actually coming into so far to date as we close out that phase. Now, if you recall, that does not include the splash pad portion, but this was the nicest rendering there that we had. So it does include everything to the north of the splash pad, but the splash pad portion is included in the GMP number 2 that will be before you here a little bit later. Some great pictures, as you see, of the project. Did open on time, so thank you for that. Everyone that was able to attend had a great hot dogs and hamburgers, thanks to McCown Gordon, and also had a fantastic job with the ribbon cutting. So thank you, Mayor, for that, and council members that could come. I've heard great response from that, Blake. The only downside that we've heard so far, of course, is that kiddie pool, which we knew going into it that this year was going to be a little tough without having the splash pad, but we'll get to that portion here in a minute. The Valley Center Recreation and Aquatic Complex. There it is. There's the final renderings that we did send out for bid. This is for that location just north of the middle school that we did close on. It includes that indoor aquatic facility, running track, gym, fitness studio, and child care services. The projected completion date is December of 24. Of course, this is a joint project between the Valley Center Rec Commission, the City of Valley Center, and the school district. There's 2 sources of funding, the 1% local option sales tax, which 100% of that local option sales tax has to go towards this project. 100% of it can't be spent on anything else. And then, of course, that Recreation Commission mill levy, the 2 mills that were passed by the school board, and then the rec board is in charge of allocating and budgeting those funds. The sales tax data to date, Barry, do you want to kind of touch on this?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So today with the sales tax dollars, we've collected about just over 1.7 million, just over 70,000 a month. This is scheduled to sunset after a 15-year period from the day it began, and that ending date will be March 31st of 2036. So everything collected up until that point will go 100% towards paying off the debt service for this project. The sales tax revenue projections through that sunset period is about 15.8 million. That is with an estimated 2.5% increase per year, which is kind of what we've seen so far. Although this year we are projected between that 2.6 and 4.2% range for our overall increase over last year. This is our forecast here with that those sales tax dollars for 21 and 22 are actual numbers. 23 and on are our forecasted numbers to generate that 15.8 million overall. So along with that, we do have those 2 mills from the Rec Commission. We've collected just over 743,000. Once again, it is those 2 mills that are dedicated solely to this project. And these funds will be used to pay off the debt service and provide some operating funds for the rec center. So here's the Rec Commission ad valorem forecast for those 2 mills. This is based off the Rec Commission's total valuation. Just like we get as a city, the Rec Commission gets that valuation as well. This is forecasted out through 2036. The Rec Commission seems to average about a 4.695% increase per year. So that's what we looked at when we looked at the past 20 years valuation data. But this year just happened to go up to that 10.871% number, just like the city had a higher than average valuation as well. So through the end of that forecast, those 2 mills from the rec center are scheduled to generate about 8.2 million, almost 8.3. So here's a side-by-side through that 15-year total for our total collected, forecasted at $23.9 million through that sunset period.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And then going through the costs, broken down, of course, have professional services. Here's the budget for the AE fees, the civil design budget, the land acquisition, and the construction budget. The construction budget does reflect the total that you have from your GMP number 1 that was passed earlier this year, and then the GMP number 2 as well. So the land acquisition, I do want to touch on that. That's $603,875.16. Of course, is whatever portion that the rec center and the complex itself is going to sit on is what the sales tax will pay for. And so once we get done, we will replat or lot split, depending upon whichever one Mr. Schrack tells us we need to do. And then the surrounding property that's not used for that will then be either purchased by the city, and that will be replenished with general fund, or it will be sold off to a private developer, and then those funds will be replenished into the sales tax. And so the sales tax has paid to date for that $603,000, but it will not ultimately pay for that entire 30 acres that was purchased in that area. So did want to make sure to clarify that. The total project budget with all those things is $19,737,683. With those two combined with the pool rehab and the number I just showed you, we're just under the $21 million total for the project overall budget. Here's Mr. Smith. Do you want to touch on this a little bit?
Yes, here's just an overview of how we've used the funds collected to date so far. Once that pool rehab finishes out, that part of the project will be 100% paid for in the cash generated. So we're not going to be borrowing any money to pay that back off. So all that'll be taken care of, along with that land acquisition piece. So far to date, we spent about $1.75 million for the project. So that leaves those remaining project costs about $19.1 million from that $20.8 million number that we just talked about on the slide previous. The remaining project costs will be long-term financed. First, we're going to start off financing them temporarily with a temp note over a 2-year period, and then roll that into permanent financing in June of 2025, and then use those collections to pay that off through the sunset date. And here's the debt service schedule showing that. So coming up here in a few months, we will issue that temporary note. Total project cost at that point, we're going to issue for about 19 million. And then we'll put $1 million of our cash left over and remaining from the mill levy and remaining sales tax funds toward that. So we'll issue about $18 million for the project. Once that's issued and the project is completed and constructed over the next 2-year period, we will then roll that into permanent financing in June of 2025. And whatever funds we have collected through that construction period will then again be put towards the project as well. So that's that 633,000 number there. That's what we schedule to generate minus the interest paid on the temporary note over that 2-year period. Along with that, we will do a fundraising campaign and try to fundraise $2.1 million to also put towards that bond closing. So once we raise that 2.1 million and put that towards the closing as well, we will be right around that $15.5-16 million mark that we will long-term finance through that sunset date of March of 2036.
And I think it's important, sorry, go back real quick, to also, while you're looking at this, that's with keeping a positive fund balance as well on that far side. And so in case, there's a year where there is a shortfall or something, there is funds available to make that difference up. The $2.1 million in fundraising, we have said all along the $2 million is going to be what we fundraise for. The committee members knew that going into it. It's something that we've said from the get-go when it was $10.5 million. So that's not nothing new. Again, the focus points will be the temporary financing through June of 2025. That 1.6 in cash contributions when we finance are obtained. And then the $2.1 million in fundraising, that would go towards that. I did want to also put in front of you all, as well as gave to the media, we have started looking at what those fundraising options would be. There are different donor levels. There will be a separate subcommittee that will be formed from the Pool and Recreation Steering Committee that will take on the fundraising efforts. The Valley Center Recreation Commission actually already has a nonprofit set up. It's been established for a little while that we are going to be using as our fundraising arm of this project. And then those funds will come then through the Rec Commission. So as you see, there'll be two large $500,000 naming rights for the natatorium, one for the gym. There'll be a couple available in the $250,000, 5 available in the $100,000 range, and then 3 available in the $50,000 range, which equates to a little over $2.1 million in fundraising. That'll give us 2 years from now to go ahead and raise those funds, which we think is absolutely doable. And again, here are some renderings from the building and the site plan. Any questions for Barry or myself before we have Todd and his team come up?
Councilmember Kerstetter has a question.
More for Mr. Smith. So on the interest rates that you're using, 3%, 3.7%, how conservative are those estimates knowing that interest rates have been going up lately?
Well, these are all put together by Piper Sandler, our financial advisors. They do this day in and day out. The 3% rate for the August issuance, that's probably going to be pretty spot on for that one. The June of 2025 one's probably a little bit conservative, but I mean, the temp notes and long-term financings, they're roughly about the same interest rate right now. So,
so the temp notes are about 3% right now. Is what
yeah,
okay.
They're almost the same. So
okay.
They're just slightly lower.
Questions I'm trying to anticipate.
Well, and also, just like they said during our call last week, they're starting to see, the market level off and somewhat, go slightly down in the interest rates over time right now. The market's really hungry. So.
All right, perfect. That's all I had.
Do not. Councilmember Rask got in there just in time.
Nick of time. On the mill levy increase, what was in 2024? It was noted to be 10.87. Did you touch on that? Why that was different than all the other years?
Yeah, so the 2024 valuation estimate is what we just got, what we just received in July.
Makes sense.
So that was the REC's estimated valuation for 2024. Right?
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, just like ours was just under that 10%. I mean,
Yep.
of course, the Rec Commission, another reason, great partner. Everyone within the school district, which, is far beyond our city limits, they'll have an opportunity to have the same membership rates as inside city limits. And so, all the developments that's happening down by the Moorings, Watermark, Saddlebrook, all those will also go into this project as well. So, that's why we feel confident that these numbers, are conservative, but also accurate. And Blake's here, of course, with the Rec Commission that can answer any questions if you have as well.
Anybody else? Okay, we can move on to the next phase.
Thank you, Brent. Barry.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Included in your packet is Exhibit A1, proposals and clarifications for our guaranteed maximum price amendment number 2. And I'm just going to go ahead and read this here. Our guaranteed maximum price for bid package number 2 is $14,231,566. And this is in addition to bid package number 1 presented on April 18th of 2023. Bid pack 1 was $3,692,137. And this estimate was based on the documents identified below, these clarifications, and all the associated attachments. There's a lot of information there. I know everybody's had a little bit of time to review it. So Jake and I will stand for any questions that Mayor, the committee has.
Councilmember Gregory.
Just out of curiosity, what are duct socks?
Sure, that's a great question. Duct sock, it's a fabric ductwork. So when there's not air flowing through it, it deflates a little bit. When there's air flowing through it, it puffs up. But those are used in the aquatic center because they do really well in high humidity areas and they don't corrode like typical galvanized ductwork would.
And my second question is, who was it the committee that either accepted or rejected the alternates?
Yes, and those were all based on the steering committee's recommendations. We had a number of those that we were asked to price and then put in front so that the committee could make a decision to steer the project how they wanted to see.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Councilmember Kerstetter.
Why Bermuda grass?
I'm sorry?
Why Bermuda grass?
I'm going to default that one to Gary on our design team here. Gary Hollers with Schaefer Architecture.
I know I'm not the only one that saw that.
Gary Holler with Schaefer Architecture. Bermuda does very well, as you know. Some think it's a weed. I think my yard is covered with it. I'm not the civil engineer, the landscape engineer, but I'm sure he would answer the same thing. It requires very little water.
Okay.
Good evening again. I'm going to chime in on this one. And so, yes, we have heard the concerns. I personally have heard the concerns. This is one of those items that this is a fantastic opportunity to reflect on the process that the mayor and council decided to go with hiring McCown Gordon and Schaefer to do this project. These are one of those items where we can grab this subcontractor after this GMP is approved, if you so choose tonight, and we can sit down with him and whoever is concerned in the community and say, hey, instead of Bermuda, how much is it for Buffalo? Okay, we have a total budget of, let's say, $160,000, and we want to change things around. We absolutely have that opportunity to sit down with our contractor and whoever from the committee and have those conversations with grass types or with certain tree species or vegetation and plants and all those things. And so that absolutely can happen at a later date. So didn't want to assure you that as not set in stone with a Bermuda grass or buffalo or irrigation here or a silver maple there or a spruce there. And
I figured it was. I just thought.
so absolutely.
Ask. And I have one more question regarding your timeline is of being the finished December of 24. Is that, you think you're going to definitely hit that?
Yes, we actually sent a revised bid schedule out based on feedback we were getting from the aquatics trades, that when they were actually going to be finished up with some other projects and able to focus their attention fully on this one. So we did build this with trade partner input and feel like this is a really solid schedule.
So we can definitely plan on having January 1, if not sooner, of 2025 open.
Yeah, that's provided that we
Weather
approve tonight and, there
and
are-
weather.
There are
Not
things
forget
that
about
do
weather.
extend a schedule. If you do have weather events, those can push it out.
Okay.
But yes, right now we're confident in this schedule.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, I mentioned that we would bring this up later. Also, too, in your packet that I handed out is the copy of the Lions Park splash pad. As you've seen on that cover sheet where it said the GMP maximum price, by waiting to do the splash pad from when we did the Lions Park project, that one came in around 900,000 or so with some changes in those things. The ad alternate came into 495,000. And so we were able to save a few $100,000, but that splash pad in Lions Park is included in this GMP number 2. So I did want to make sure to make sure to include that in there. So if you look underneath the bid alternates, that bid alternate number 2 and 485,000, that is included in that GMP number 2 cost. So I did want to make sure that was clear.
Anybody else?
Motion for the approval of the GMP 4 bid package number 2 in the amount of $14,231,566. Authorize the mayor or city administrator to sign.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Stam.
A lot of money.
I feel comfortable with this project. You guys, we've done a lot of big projects in the last couple of years. We've got a lot coming up, and you guys have done well with the financing, and we've never failed yet, so I have faith in you guys.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, council. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Item C, CIP 2023 to 2032.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, once again. The item this evening is our updated CIP plan through 2032. It's probably about 40 pages. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed reading all of it. It is hyperlinked for you too, so it makes it a little easier. Just a quick updates to this. They updated the flow of it, made it a little bit easier to read. These are all of our current projects in the CIP currently. And these are all of our active projects listed out here. Throughout the CIP, we did update the 5-year revenue by source and expense type by summary, expense by type summary, as well as a much more detailed expense by project over the next 5 years, as well as the revenue by project over the next 5-year period as well. So it gives a little more detail into where the revenues are coming from, what funds are being used for what project throughout the remainder of the CIP cycle and all the active projects currently going on. Once again, we still have the virtual tour online. If you want to fly through the city and check out all the projects there, you can. And we also have our CIP dashboard. It's always kept up to date with all of our actual expenditures to date for each project. There's pictures, concept designs for each project, everything like that on the CIP. Just a quick overview of all the projects in here. They each include a scope, background, location, justification, operating impacts, and community impacts for each project. All of these areas are looked at every time a project is brought to us and submitted. Several other factors are involved as well as federal funding, state funding, grant funding, everything like that to determine which projects get selected and move forward for council adoption. So overall, this is just a updated CIP plan and looking for a motion to approve and adopt the plan as presented.
Questions, council?
I make a motion to adopt capital improvement plan for fiscal years of 2023 to 2032.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you.
Was it Evans or Bass?
All right, item D, approval of change order number 8 for the Ford Street project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm requesting approval for change order number 8 for Ford Street in the amount of $2,950, I believe. I don't have it. This is for the addition of a driveway culvert for residents just on the south side of Ford Street, just west of the Speedway. Just something that was missed in the plans, and it was backing up water, so we had to add in a pipe there. So I'll stand for any questions.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
So you just said it was missed. Why was it missed? How was it missed?
Just oversight, I guess.
I'm glad it's $3,000 is still a lot of money, but this is number 8. How did it happen 8 times?
Well, on this one particular, and so the homeowner at some point had put a small conduit that just got missed by all the survey. It was, silted in. It just completely, no one saw it and realized until the water was backing up. And then that property owner contacted me and it was clear that water was not going where it was intended to go. So one of those things that, those items come up in projects like this, if it's been silted in for, 10, 15 years, it's really hard to pick up sometimes. But unless the county has it or there's a catalog of, culverts, which are always hard to follow sometimes in the county. But sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
And I would like to point out all 8 change orders are not necessarily all missed items in the plans. Some are owner requests, some are landowner requests that the city approves. And with this additional total, the overall change order amount for the entire project did come in less than 1%. So on a project of this size, that's considered very, very, very good. So that out.
Follow-up question. Now that the Ford Street's open, are you gonna have to go back in there? Or is this already done and we're just approving that?
They did it at risk, basically. It's already done.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we could open last Friday.
So we could open, well, that's where I was getting at. Do we have to close for
No.
a couple days to?
Anybody else? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve Ford Street change order number 8 in an amount of $2,950 and authorize mayor or city administrator to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-1. Thank you. Item E, encroachment agreement with Rural Water District Number 2.
Oh, I'm talking way too much tonight. Good evening again. Hello. Don't give me that look, man. Before you is an encroachment agreement with Rural Water District Number 2. This is for our city welcome sign that will be located at Broadway and Ford Street. If you could scroll down for me, please, Mr. Smith. What this basically states with our welcome sign being so close to their pipes, that in the event that there is any issues with the water break and damages their sign, that they're not going to be held liable or responsible for any damages incurred, and also allows us to put a structure this close to their water mains and water lines. We have had our city attorney, Mr. Barry Arbuckle, review, and so I would defer to him for any legal questions, but it did come back as looks favorable to approve if the mayor and council so chose.
Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Bass.
I haven't
give you the
I haven't
floor.
eaten dinner yet. Move to approve encroachment agreement with Rural Water District Number 2 and authorize mayor or city administrator to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Sorry, I didn't catch you fixing that. I would have waited a second. All right, we're going to move on to staff reports. Mr. Schrack. One of these days, I'm just going to jockey up this list. I swear I'm going to do it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just very quickly, a reminder that our next Main Street Farmers Market is this Thursday evening from 4 to 8 p.m. And we are looking, Main Street Valley Center is looking for some additional music talent to liven up the atmosphere down at the farmers market. So if you know of anyone that would be interested in performing at the farmers market, please let our board president, Chris Strunk, or any member of the board or myself, please refer them to us, and we'd be more than happy to get them on the schedule. So thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Owings.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple of quick updates. As we mentioned last meeting, we're still getting ready to set up the interview process, getting ready to start the interview process for the Park and Public Buildings Supervisor position, Matt Nordick's position that left, I think it was early May. So we're getting ready to start conducting interviews. So excited about that happening and looking forward to getting that position backfilled. Also, along the lines of the Ford and Broadway entry sign, Brenton, I had the pleasure of meeting with George Lay Sign Company folks today. And we kind of discussed final details of where that is going to orient. It's like a Missouri roadmap in there with utilities. So we've got to be very careful. And that's part of the reason for the encroachment agreement. But we are excited to see that move forward. They're looking forward to getting started, hopefully maybe as early as next week, with setting some of the infrastructure part of that, the posts, and then we'll be moving forward with some, the dirt work there afterwards. So stand for any questions.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
Yes.
This might be a general question for Mr. Clark. As far as hiring process, is it taking this long to get people to the interview process?
At times it can be, if I understand your question correctly. Yeah, I mean, we started the interview process. We gave about a month of interview time. We're in our third week of having that advertised, and we've had roughly 10 applicants for that position.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So not, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
That helps you? Is it?
Yeah, no, I didn't know what the hiring process is as far as, or application process.
Well, and kind of each department kind of handles it a little differently, but we have been encouraging, of course, all the department directors that, if there's a really, great qualified candidate, let's get them in here, let's get them interviewed and see if they fit what we're looking for in our departments. And then some departments hire a little quicker depending upon the applicants they receive, but it's really depending upon the pool of applicants that are received for a certain position. So it varies between the police department's different than Ryan's department, which is different than Public Works, different. I mean, so.
Okay, just curious what the market is, I guess.
Absolutely. Just like in some positions, we'll get 70 applicants and there might be 2 that are qualified that we want to interview. So,
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chief Newman.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. I've included my second quarter report, and I left a note in there for you. I apologize that it's different, and there's information that's normally in there that I couldn't include, but with the new mobile CAD system and records management system, there's still things we're trying to learn and things to get ironed out. So I'm hoping to get them included in the third quarter. So I'll stand for any questions.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
When are we getting a new fire truck?
I thought about that actually when I saw the picture earlier that Barry had in his presentation, CIP. Right now, tentatively, we're scheduled to get it within the first couple of weeks of September. We're hoping to have it here and have it in Fall Fest Parade.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Earlston.
Well, there sure is an awful lot of activity along Meridian, knowing that that project hasn't started yet. And so a quick update on the gas line. Mr. Mayor asked me about that. They said they're about 25% done with services. They're still looking at that 4 to 5 week time period to finish up. They're having to bore every single service. So there's a lot of digging, there's a lot of mess, and there's a lot of dirt work along Meridian. As some of you know, we had a little incident down by the intermediate school on yesterday. They were paving their driveway and we had some asphalt in the road and some tracking. And thank you for one of Chief Newman's officers. He went down there with me. We sat there. We had some discussions with the contractor. We were able to get some of that cleaned up. They were able to get some of it cleaned up, and Administrator Clark and I are still working on comprising an email to go to that contractor requesting more cleanup as do that.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. They could at least clean it up or paved it free, since the amount of stuff they put down on there. There's almost enough for another overlay.
Yeah, there was an awful lot tracked. Quite a big mess.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Shear, Mr. Arbuckle, Mr. Smith? All right, I guess we're pretty much done because Mr. Clark already admitted he talked a lot, so I don't know if we need to bring him back up.
He's got more wind in him.
Good evening. I can't believe no. 4th Street is open. Hey, 4th Street is open. Whew. So hopefully everyone's had an opportunity. Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to drive down it and is pleased with the final result. I know it was a long time coming, but I do want to remind you all that it was only 10 months on the city portion of that project. And so, yes, the roundabout on the Park City side, that took a while. And then the gas main from Kansas Gas and all those things. But the city portion took less than a year for that long a road and concrete. I mean, that is remarkable.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible. I do want to thank, since we didn't have a ribbon cutting, because we wanted to open the road as soon as we possibly could. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we couldn't open it any quicker. I think there was a line of cars as Wildcat and TCS were getting the barricades down on Friday. There's a line of cars waiting for them to move. But do want to thank real quick. We would not been able to do this project without partnerships. And if you've seen all the projects that we've been doing in the last 4 years, I cannot name one that we haven't had a partner in. I can't think of one that the city of Valley Center has solely 100% went into yet. And so really want to thank Central County commissioners, especially former Commissioner Lacey Cruz, as well as Commissioner Ryan Beatty in our district for getting this project completed, and all the Central County Public Works staff. They are the ones that did all of the inspections, really took a big portion of that bill off of the taxpayers' plate, as well as came up with a financial contribution as well towards this whole project for not only Valley Center, but also Park City. I want to thank KDOT, Kansas Department of Transportation. They gave us an economic development grant. That is because of Amazon. And so when you see Amazon and, people in Valley Center are wondering, what did we get when they came? We received that economic development grant from KDOT because Amazon located where they did. It's the only way that we got the grant to help pay and pave, not just asphalt, but pave and concrete 4th Street. That's going to be an incredible road and gateway into our community for many, many years to come. Also, I'd like to thank the city of Park City. Sean Fox, mayor, council members. Without them, we would not have received that grant to help pay for this portion of the project. And so really want to thank, and a special thank you to Wildcat Construction. Wildcat and all their subs did a fantastic job, even dealing with Rodney and I on a regular basis, going out there and maybe not being the nicest at times when things weren't necessarily going the way we thought they should. But they were always, okay, maybe me. That was more me. We keep a close eye on our projects. And I think that the citizens of Valley Center don't realize how much time that we do dedicate to making sure that the projects run as smooth as possible. So I know sometimes there's change orders, but those are all, they all come valid with justification and reasoning for those. But just want to really take a second to thank everybody for an incredible Ford Street project. And Ford Street is done. Of course, there's a little riprap and some cleanup items, punch list items to finish up, but for the most part, we are all done with that. Also, on this very special night, last week, one of our council members, they weren't here. I know a few, most weren't. But it is because he was celebrating his birthday. So happy belated birthday, Councilman Bass. You were not going to get out of me acknowledging your birthday. So I hope you had a great birthday and well-deserved night off. So I'll stand for any questions.
Councilmember Gregory.
Since we don't have a meeting next week, should we say happy birthday to you now?
Nope.
Yes.
Yes, I think so.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. Can never be too sure sometimes, even though you sit down. All right, we'll move on to governing body reports. I really have nothing, but yeah, happy birthday and enjoy your hot, humid time off. Please don't get heat stroke or anything like that while you're gone.
Yeah.
So, Councilmember Stam.
Well, I was actually going to bring up the Ford Street project, but Brent already talked about it. It's awesome. Love it. And then this question is probably more for Barry. If things on a previous council agenda, can a councilman request it to come back at a future meeting?
Was it voted on?
It was voted on.
Down or up?
Down.
That would be up to me.
The ordinance, if it does pass first reading, then the council member brings that up.
Can you vote it?
Can I request it to be put back on the agenda so we have a full council to vote on it versus?
Absolutely, you can.
Well, I like
Or
to
you
have the
can
fence
all
one
come
put
to the
back on
meeting.
a future agenda. Whether it's a month, 2 months, it don't matter. Okay. I like to have a full council vote on that versus a small council.
It's might
Is that it?
That's it.
Councilmember Evans.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Bass.
Nothing from me.
Council, I always say councilmember, I should say councilwoman, just because you are our only woman on there and I still feel sorry. I'm mad for myself for, well, that's a whole nother story.
So am I, but
Councilwoman Gregory.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Wilson.
I'm good, sir.
And last, but certainly not least, Councilmember Colbert.
I just have one or two things here for you. The league has sent out a notice. I don't know if most of you get this on the council.
Yeah,
Okay, I hope you noticed that they had some committees in there. They're looking for city officials to serve on policy committee. And I think it would benefit us to have a representative on that committee. Other than that, thank you again for the Purple Heart and the guys that showed up, and they've all left, which is quick. But we now will take that to the county commissioners and let them do their work and then mail it into California once we get the proclamation made so we can get our signs so to be put up on that there. And if there's no further business before the council, I make a motion the meeting be adjourned.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.